two men believe they won the same race.
The results tonight have been phenomenal.
I am here to report, when the count is finished, we believe we will be the winners.
We're breaking down Colorado's new laws, analyzing the way Denver influences the statewide discussion, and asking, what will it take to heal our divide?
All right, we want to get straight to the undecided presidential race. Still undecided now, 24 hours after polls close. Right now, the Associated Press is reporting that Joe Biden has 264 electoral votes. Of course, he got all of Colorado's 9. Donald Trump has 214 electoral votes.
And the outcome of this race hinges on a few states yet. Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, Alaska, Georgia, all too close to call tonight. And the results in Wisconsin, which the AP called for Biden, will face a legal challenge from President Trump.
Our 360 team coverage begins tonight with our chief investigator, Tony Kovaleski, with an update on what is happening in those battlegrounds tonight. Tony?
Yeah, Shannon Ann, a crazy day as many people expected today. The president's legal team currently in the middle of a full court press, asking for the stoppage of vote counting in Pennsylvania and Michigan, calling for a recount in Wisconsin. Now there are 4 critical states in play. Let's show you the latest numbers we have and why they're so important. Georgia, where the president has a 1 percentage point lead. Also, North Carolina, a 1 percentage point lead. That's about a 4 percentage point lead there, and Nevada, literally hundreds of votes separating that, less than a percentage point lead for the president there. Here's why this is significant. Analysts telling us the president needs to sweep all 4 of those states to gain re-election and 4 more years in the White House. Biden needs to win 1, both talking about it in the past 24 hours.
My friends, I'm confident we'll emerge victorious.
That declaration came shortly after 2 Denver time. Former Vice President Biden taking the podium after analyzing the latest numbers.
It's clear that we're winning enough states to reach 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency. I'm not here to declare that we've won, but I am here to report that when the count is finished, we believe we will be the winners.
Biden saying his team believes the final ballot counts will show wins in Wisconsin and Michigan. And he said numbers on Wednesday made him confident he would also win Pennsylvania.
I know this won't be easy. I'm not naive. Neither of us are. I know how deep and hard the opposing views are in our country on so many things. But I also know this as well. To make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as enemies.
At one time, it was believed the president would also weigh in on the latest voting numbers, but that didn't happen. The president apparently standing by his after midnight statements.
This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
Throughout the day, the president remained active on Twitter. His tweets included this one from late this morning. They are working hard to make up 500,000 vote advantage in Pennsylvania disappear ASAP. Likewise, Michigan and others. And then this afternoon, this tweet. We have claimed for electoral vote purposes the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, which won't allow legal observers, the state of Georgia and the state of North Carolina, each one which has a big Trump lead. Additionally, we hereby claim the state of Michigan. A couple other notes for you. Within the past 24 hours, Twitter has taken down at least 4 of the president's tweets saying he violated political protocols. And on the balance of power in the Senate, remember, Democrats needed to pick up 3 or 4 seats. Right now, it's looking like they may only pick up 1, so the balance of power likely to stay with Republicans in the Senate. Ann?
All right, Tony, we know they're still counting out there. Thank you for that update. Now, our U.S. Senate race, that was never in doubt once the first batch of results came down last night. John Hickenlooper declared victory over Cory Gardner within 90 minutes of the polls closing.
And 6 of Colorado's 7 representatives in the U.S. House won re-election with relative ease. Lauren Boebert is the only newcomer, and she won the reliably red seat that covers Pueblo and most of rural Colorado. She defeated the incumbent Scott Tipton in the primary earlier this year.
And I know many of you decided to go to bed at a reasonable hour instead of waiting for late night ballot returns from cities like Milwaukee and Detroit.
That's right, which means you woke up to see Joe Biden erasing leads in places like Wisconsin and Michigan. Our team spoke to some experts for a 360 perspective on the shifting vote count. And the president's early leads are what experts call a red mirage, early signs of a big win for President Trump.
The gradual blue shift toward Joe Biden was a result of states counting those Republican-heavy Election Day votes first, before tallying those mail ballots largely from Democrats. Now, the other slight miss comes in the national popular vote, which Joe Biden is currently leading.
An ABC News poll taken a couple weeks ago showed Biden with a 12-point lead nationally. So we had to ask, what happened? Here's election guru Nate Silver.
So we have Trump with a 10% shot and Biden with a 90% shot. So 10% things happen fairly often. At the same time, you could have a polling error of the magnitude of 2016, and instead of losing all these states by a point, then Biden would win Pennsylvania by a point or two, Michigan by 2 or 3 points, Arizona by a point. So that little extra cushion, maybe people who didn't like Clinton and Trump but can tolerate Biden, might be enough.
As the vote counting continues, we're seeing demonstrations across the country. In Detroit, groups of self-proclaimed poll watchers swarmed a building where ballots were being counted, and legitimate poll watchers then couldn't get in.
And we are anticipating 2 protests tonight here in Denver, both scheduled to start in the next hour. One is led by a conservative group. The other explicitly is a rally against Donald Trump.
Denver7's Gary Brode live downtown where those 2 rallies could come face to face. Gary?
Well, yeah, it's supposed to start here around 6 o'clock for the one protest that is really just anti-Donald Trump. Another is more anti-government as a whole. I just got done speaking to the organizer of one of the protests who's part of a Democratic party. They say, look, we just want to keep the message going that's been going for several months now. We want to talk about racial injustice. We want to keep the message going about COVID restrictions. You know, of course, there's certainly talk about Biden having a slight edge over Donald Trump at this point, but they say, look, whoever wins, we still want to make sure that the message is going. There's still a lot of concern that if Biden does get in, based on what the organizers were just telling me, that a lot of policies won't be changed at this point. So that's really kind of the message that's trying to get out there, continuing those protests that have been going on for several months. And of course, this is all part of a national protest that's been going on all across the country, from Raleigh. We've seen it also in D.C. But again, this is supposed to start at 6 o'clock. The other protest is supposed to begin at Cheeseman Park at 5:30, and then a march begins at 6:30, as we're being told, that will end here at the Capitol. We'll stay on top of it all night long. Reporting live here at the Capitol, Gary Brode, Denver7.
All right, Gary, we'll see you many times throughout the evening. Thanks for that. And one thing I think we learned, or was reinforced, there really aren't red or blue states, but red and blue counties.
Yeah, take a look at this map. The counties in red went for President Trump. The counties in blue went for Biden. The red ones are overwhelmingly rural, and the blue ones are overwhelmingly urban. And experts we spoke to for tonight's 360 coverage say it will take a lot to heal this divide.
You can't just go to Thanksgiving dinner and make friends again across these divides. Instead, we have to be purposeful. We have to find and build specific places where we come together, learn to trust each other, and build relationships.
It's going to make it very hard for whoever is going to be president for the next 4 years to govern.
In rural Colorado, we certainly saw this rural-urban divide play out in a couple of significant ways. The first on gray wolves. Proposition 114 gives the state permission to reintroduce gray wolves out on the western slope by 2023. The county shaded in green voted in favor of the wolves, red against. Pretty substantial. I think you can see the narrative here. The urban-rural divide comes with a focus here that the metro area counties made the decision that largely impacts those out on the western slope, especially the farmers. And we're going to focus our 360 lens on this issue at 6 o'clock.
And the other ballot initiative to bring out a noticeable rural-urban split was Prop 115, the abortion issue. Supporters believe it would protect viable fetuses. Opponents say it didn't give enough consideration for women who were victims of rape or incest. Counties in green supported the ban. Counties in red voted against it. And notice again the split between Denver and, say, Colorado Springs. Denver voters were against it. Colorado Springs voted for it.
Now, we did see a handful of pretty interesting ballot initiatives on the local level this year. Lakewood and Littleton both gave the green light to recreational marijuana. Those cities said no when it was first legalized, and now they will be able to take advantage of the tax revenue. And in Denver, a monumental package of tax increases will provide funding for several priorities.
That includes housing the homeless. Denver7's Lance Hernandez reports on ballot measure 2B.
I was in a very toxic relationship. He was very abusive.
Serena Soleto says she's been living on the streets since breaking up with her boyfriend. She can't afford rent on her own and is hopeful that 2B will help people like her.
I believe it's going to make a difference. I hope it does. That's all we could say.
The measure would hike Denver's sales tax 0.25%, or 2.5 cents on every $10 purchased. It would raise nearly $40 million a year and will allow the city to build 1,800 homes with supportive services over the next 10 years. Will it end homelessness?
I don't know if it ends homelessness. I'll be honest with you, Lance. I think there are too many mitigating circumstances that cause an individual to be on shelter or homeless in our community.
Mayor Michael Hancock says the money will go a long way toward addressing issues that lead to homelessness: substance abuse, domestic violence, mental health.
We're going to have to, spend these resources and develop programs that are responsive to the problem of homelessness that we have on the ground today, while anticipating the likely increase of homelessness that we're going to see as a result of this pandemic.
And Kathy Alderman of the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless says the system will have to evolve, both for immediate and long-term needs. I asked the mayor if the passage of 2B will mean an end to tent cities.
Our hope is that we're able to more rapidly house individuals.
He says it's inhumane to encourage people to sleep outdoors or in tents.
That's safe for the general public. And so we're going to always work to try to end that in our community, while at the same time directing folks and connecting them with healthier services and programs.
Lance Hernandez, Denver7.
Our 360 coverage of this election continues next. Denver7 travels to D.C. to talk to the people most invested in this race.
We still got time. We ain't over till the fat lady sings.
Another day of record highs. How much longer this November heat wave is going to last?
And while many are distracted by the election, the coronavirus threat gets substantially more serious, why Colorado could soon face new restrictions.